Let's shower them with some love. Shower them with some love. Good job. Good stuff, man. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Greg Foster, and today I'm going to be your MC, your game show host, and your circus ringleader. Tuesday is the first day of spring, and I've got some spring jokes. Y'all want to hear some spring jokes?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Spring it on.
Now, just know management is not responsible for the content of these jokes, just so you know. So here we go. Why are flowers so friendly? They always have new buds. All right, that one was a hit. What season is best to go on a trampoline? Springtime. I'm one for two. All right. Why couldn't the flower ride a bike? It lost its petals. Does February like March? No, but April may. What did the tree say during springtime? Well, this is a relief. It's a rough crowd out there today. All right, one last one. Which superhero likes spring the best? Robin.
Hey, you gotta leave one for George.
All right, well, I saved the best for last. I'll do, right before I introduce George, we'll save the best for last. Hey, let's all stand and sing Surely the Presence. Repeat with me the mission statement. We welcome all as we create loving community, teach universal truth, practice spiritual principles, and live life abundantly. And for those of you who are new, I see some new faces in here. For the last year, we've been without a minister. And just in the last month or so, we've got one who is starting for a week or two. But we had a prayer that we were saying that somebody would find us and we would find them. And just in the last week or two, we've changed this to be our gratitude prayer. So repeat with me the gratitude prayer. Together, we are grateful that the universe is safely guiding unity of faith into the future. We release all resistance to change, letting go of what was, and gratefully embracing the new. The harmonizing power of love has shown us the way to navigate transition, and we welcome Rev Sharon with open hearts. We are excited and ready to step into the future. Thank you, God, and so it is. You may be seated. So y'all, when you walk through those doors out there, you become family. You are all my family. I am your family. And we all come from a variety of backgrounds. I'm just curious for the fun of it. Let me see all of you who were raised Catholic. Go ahead. Okay. Who was raised Methodist? Anybody? The other half. Presbyterian? Baptist? We got a Baptist in the back there. All right. Nothing at all. There you go. Okay, join me in the opening prayer, please. I was raised a Southern Baptist. I was raised to believe that I was a human being with a soul, with a spirit. I have since learned that the opposite is true. I am, and we all are spiritual beings having a human experience. That's right. We are all spiritual beings here having a human experience. We're all here trying to figure out this whole human thing, and we're not that great at it. We stumble through life doing the best we can. We worry, we're afraid, we sometimes say things we wish we could take back. We're not yet perfect at this whole human being thing. But guess what? We are perfect spiritual beings. We love, we care, we're passionate, we laugh, and we spread joy. There's a beautiful scene in the movie Avatar where the two main characters look deeply at each other and they say, "I see you. I see you." They see the essence and the beauty and the passion and the holiness of each other. There's a word that describes this. That word is namaste. I Googled namaste, and here are some various translations. I honor the place in you where the entire universe dwells. I bow to the place in you that is love, light, and joy. When you and I bow to our true nature, we are one. My soul recognizes your soul. We are the same. We are one. I honor the place in you that is the same as it is in me. Namaste. It's hanging on the side wall over there. Check it out after the service. I see you. I see all of you. Namaste. And so it is. Amen. The affirmation today is, I bless my relationships and my relationships bless me. And now let's all stand and with our best human voices, let's sing The Father and I Are One.
The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. You and I are one. You and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. You and I are one. All God's children are one. All God's children are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. All God's children are one. All God's children are one.
The word for today is comfort. Speaking the words, I love you, provides comfort for an aching heart and peace in times of uncertainty. Today, I open my heart to these loving expressions as a soothing balm for distress or grief. When I am concerned about another, love centers me in the truth that all is in divine order, no matter how circumstances appear. I enfold the people I care about in a sphere of love, encircling them in peace and protection. When I am troubled, I find comfort in others' loving words. I surround myself with those who offer solace in my time of need. I find encouragement in their kindness and compassion. As we share ourselves in kind and loving ways, we hearten spirits and bolster faith, giving comfort to ourselves and others. The word of the day is comfort. And now let's stand again, and with our best human voices, let's sing We Belong Together.
We belong together. We'll be friends forever. We'll be fight till death. We belong together. We
Hey, I think I see some new faces out there. Do we have any visitors here for the first time? We've got a welcome packet that we want to give to you. No? Come on. Okay, I'm gonna invite George up here in just a moment, but before I do that, I'm gonna finish with a few more spring jokes. Okay? All right. How do you make a waterbed bouncier? You fill it with spring water. Why did the worm cross the ruler? To become an inchworm. Rough crowd out there this morning, rough crowd. What do you call a well-dressed king of the jungle? A dandelion. And the crowd groans. What flower does everyone have on their face? 2 lips. And finally, did you hear about the flower who went on a date with another flower? It's a budding romance. And speaking of budding romances, we've had a budding romance with George and Nancy Whitton forever. It's probably a couple of decades. This is before my time here, but a long time ago, this church went without a pastor for years, right? And the two of them kind of, helped us out and filled in. Well, we've been without a pastor for the last year now, and George and Nancy have tag teams that have been helping us forever. So it's a budding romance that has been blooming for decades. So with that,
a blessing for us.
So Joy, bring us in with George Whitton.
So let's prepare for meditation.
Let's just continue to relax. You may want to notice your breath. Take a deep breath. Let it out slow. We notice our feet flat on the floor. We allow our chairs to just totally support us as we settle in for a few moments of quiet. Today it's about connection. We are so blessed to be a part of this spiritual community that nurtures and supports us. For it's written that we have been created in the image and likeness of the One. Not just you and not just me. All of us are created in that image and likeness. of the one. And consequently, we share our birthright, a divine birthright. We are connected at our center. And with that comes many blessings. We know that we've been empowered with the spirit of creativity so that we might create the life that we desire, so that we might connect with like-minded individuals. Today is a day to remember and to acknowledge that at our core level, truly we are connected. And so for the blessings that come from this community as we link arm in arm, as we walk together, as our life unfolds in blessed and spiritual ways, we know that we truly are on a path together, connected at a soul level. And for that connection, we are grateful. And so we take a moment as we enter into the silence. And in that quiet time, we appreciate and acknowledge the blessings that are here right now, in the silence, for just a moment. Today is a day that we focus on and turn our attention to our loving connections. We know that our connectedness is not just for Valentine's Day, where we appreciate those that we love and walk this journey called life. Every day presents an opportunity to pause and reflect on the relationships that we value and that are a blessing in our lives. Whether it be our lover, our spouse, our friends, we can always benefit from stepping back and appreciating the love that we have in our lives as we take time to show others that we care about them and we appreciate them. It really is all about connection. And so for the good that's here, for the good that we share, truly we are blessed. And we say thank you and amen.
I am ready to be changed. I am ready to walk on a higher path. I am ready to be changed and be faithful and strong. Love cover me. Love cover me. Kindness wash over me. Make me a symphony. Play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love cover me, light any darkness. Love cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love cover me. 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 I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. Love cover me. May my heart awaken. Tenderness be proved. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love, 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 I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love cover me, light any darkness. Love cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love, 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 love,
Every time I'm here, I always have the same thought about the band. What a blessing. Let's give the band a round. Always like being here when Greg performs because I like lots of jokes. He comes through every time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Gosh, there's a lot of faces here today. It's good to see so many here. And for the new people, the door's right there if you need to escape once I start. So, I remember the first time I went to a Unity church, a friend invited me, he says, I hear this church is different. And I said, well, I don't do church, but I can always sit in the back row, and if things get a little scary, I could escape. Nobody would notice. Well, today we're talking about connection. And Tony asked me, am I going to tell a joke? And what's your guess? I know a big portion of you are here just to hear the jokes. So, but there was a little girl sitting on her grandfather's lap, and I can relate. I got a couple granddaughters. And he was reading her a bedtime story. And from time to time, she would quit looking at the book and she'd look up at him. And she'd reach out and she'd touch his cheek. And she'd touch her cheek. And then she'd go back to the book. And finally, she looked up at him and she said, Grandpa, did God make you? And he said, yes, sweetheart, he did. God made me a long time ago. Oh, and she thought for a minute. She said, Grandpa, did God make me too? He did, honey. But not that long ago. Well, she thought about that and she touched his face, she touched her face. And she said, you know what, Grandpa? No, what? God's getting a lot better at it, isn't he? So I'm curious, how many of you remember a little over a month ago, it was a special day, happened on Tuesday, February 14th. Anybody remember that day? Valentine's Day. Well, why do I bring that up now when that was over a month ago? Well, that's a day when we focus on loving connections. Isn't that not true? Loving connections. And I got to thinking, well, Valentine's Day is a great day. It gives us permission to tell those in our lives that we care about them, that we love them, that we appreciate them. And then I thought, well, why do we just do that once a year? Why shouldn't that be a daily occurrence? And so I think we can always benefit from stepping back, appreciating the love that we have in our lives, and just take time to show others that we care and that we appreciate them. We appreciate them because we ourselves are expressions of the divine. We are part of that expression of God that lives and moves and expresses not only within ourselves, but within this entire community. Years ago, I remember being in a hospital room, waiting for a person to deliver a baby. No, it wasn't Nancy. I was there to support a congregant. She was an unmarried gal who unfortunately became distanced from the father, and she was going it alone. And so there was another man in the waiting room also, and he said his wife was in the delivery room delivering their child. And I asked, well, why aren't you in there with her? Maybe it wasn't the most, polite thing to say, but I was curious, why wouldn't you be in there with your wife? And he said, oh, she's a big girl, she can do this on her own. Now, I know in Unity we teach non-judgment. But I did have the thought, well, what kind of relationship is that? Yeah, I was a bit judgmental. So ministers have that judgmental part too. We just try to hide it. But at that moment, I think what I really was called upon to do was to remember that new dad, within that new dad, was a spark of the divine. Now, he may not have been showing it so brightly in that moment, But when you and I think, are mindful of the divine love at our core, we're better able to express that divine love into our lives. And as we do, we're also better able to see that divine love in others as well. So what I want to talk about with you today is about the importance of connection. Most of us making this human journey, almost all of us are making it with somebody else in some capacity. We are not traveling alone. And what facilitates connection, in my view, when we're traveling this journey with others in life, it's called love. Not love out there somewhere, but rather the divine love that's within us. And when we're in touch with that divine love within us, we're better able to see it in them as well. I got to thinking how important connection is, not only for committed couples, but for family and friends and coworkers, and yes, for our church community. When people are mindful and consciously share the love that is within them and within us, we share love with the people in our lives. We're better able to experience the love within ourselves. And I'm not just talking about romantic love, but self-love and loving relationships as well. In romantic movies, people are seen often as two people staring into the eyes of the other. They're sensing that romantic connection, that tender connection between the two. And I think, great, love is alive. However, it seems to me, and largely in our current experience, in our current reality, that what people are staring at is not into each other's eyes. They're staring at their cell phones. Wasn't too long ago, I was in a restaurant and there was a booth not too far from me, which I could see, and there were 4 people in that booth. A perfect opportunity to share what's going on in their lives, to share what's important to them. And yet, what the 4 were doing or not doing was talking. Why not? Because each of them had their own cell phone, and each of them were focused on that cell phone. So my question is, why can't we take some actions to create more connections with others in ways that enhance our life experience versus staring at a cell phone? I'm thinking a key to being connected and feeling the love amongst us is to be present with each other. If we want to create more meaningful relationships, we have to be at least willing to look at each other. And guess what? There are benefits to looking at each other that we may not even be aware of. Psychologist Stephen Porges says, making eye contact can relieve stress and create a deeper sense of connection. It's hard to feel intimate and connected when we're not looking into the eyes of another person. And that is true even if we're talking with a stranger. Now, for many of us, making eye contact can, make us feel a bit uncomfortable. I don't know if that's true for you, but for many of us it is. It makes us feel funny. But I have a suggestion. If you feel funny about looking into the eyes of another person, do it anyway. It's not going to hurt. And it promotes connection and really the softening of our hearts. Now, what about listening? For many of us, listening is something that is kind of a rarity. And by that I mean, my experience has been that what is said is not always heard. I don't know if that's been your experience or not. But why is that when it happens? What's real typical is in a lot of conversations, while one person is talking, the other person isn't that attentive because they're trying to figure out what they're going to say when this person pauses for a minute. In other words, they're not really that attentive. They're worried about what they're going to say or putting their comment out there as though it's more important than listening to the person that they're speaking to. They're figuring out what they're going to say. In reality, if we really want to connect, we need to be fully present and attentive to the person that's speaking. We need to put aside our agenda for later while we're listening to somebody else talk. Now, over the years, I've kind of figured out a way that we can connect more easily when talking with somebody, and that is I use a little method called feed it back. Feed it back. What does that mean? Well, that would sound something like this. You're listening to a person, when they pause or have completed their thought, you say something like, well, what I'm hearing you say is that, or I get the impression you're upset with so-and-so because, in other words, you feed back to them what you thought you heard. Now, the interesting thing is, so many times they might say, well, no, that I said that, but that's not really what I meant. What I really meant was, and then they'll explain to you what they meant. Recognizing the other person for being the authority for what they meant is key in our connection. Sometimes when we feed it back, it's not exactly what they said, but they corrected and we feel more connected. So, what about hugs? I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. This community is a hugging community. I don't know if you noticed. But did you know, in addition to just normally feeling good in a hug, that there are some other benefits? Yeah. Science shows that hugging can reduce blood pressure. So if you got a blood pressure issue, go hug somebody. Hugging can also alleviate our fears. It can soothe tension. There is a demonstration here in the front row. It can alleviate fear and it can soothe anxiety. And it releases the love hormone called oxytocin. So keep on hugging. The late rabbi and social activist Abraham Joshua Herschel said this: life is routine, and routine is resistance to wonder. One of the essential attitudes of mindfulness is curiosity, and we can bring this into our relationships, and when we do, it creates more warmth and more trust. Our minds often tell us that we know someone. We know them so well that we can predict not only what they're going to say, we can also predict what kind of behavior we're going to see and what kind of responses we're going to witness from them. Now, that could be true in some cases, some of the time. But it also stops us. It stops us from clearly seeing that person. Instead of, we just see what we think they're going to say. Well, how they're going to react. We know them so well. We know what they're going to do. So how about this for a possibility? How about putting all of that aside and just being open? Just being curious and interested. How about that for a change? How about pretending as if you're getting to know them for the very first time? What might your response be? How surprised might you be? It's worth finding out. So here is a behavior that I want to talk about that doesn't bring us closer. It actually distances us. And that is when we make a plan and we have a commitment or we have an appointment, here's a suggestion. If that phone's for me, tell them I can't take it right now. Where was I? So we have an appointment, we have an agreement, we have a commitment. And my suggestion is, this is really revolutionary, keep the appointment. Keep the commitment. Now, nothing breaks a connection with others, I think, like sniveling out on plans or not honoring an agreement or a commitment. And yet there are times in our lives when what? Stuff happens. Stuff happens. And we just can't keep that commitment. So what's a body to do? Hello, Sam. Something's come up and I can't make it. Can we make a time that we can get together? So when commitments can't be kept, renegotiate. Make a new commitment. It builds trust. I was with a person a few weeks ago who was talking about a dilemma that he had with a friend of his. A group of guys get together once a month and they play board games together. Now, one of their members, who will remain unnamed, likes to go up and chat with the wife and the family upstairs. He's a real chat kind of person. So he takes it, so I'll be back in a minute. So he goes upstairs and he starts talking to the wife and to the family. How you doing? You know. He's gone for 20 or 30 minutes while the rest of the group is waiting to play and finish the board game. Now that same person, along with his wife, are almost always late for social time, for visits. You invite them over, we'll see you at 6 o'clock, great. 7 o'clock comes, not there. Finally at 8 o'clock, they show up. Now the truth is, this is a kind and loving person. He'd do anything for you. He's there for your beck and call. If you need something, he's there to support you. But not honoring our commitments can drive a wedge into our relationships. Our life works in direct proportion to the agreements that we make and the agreements that we keep, no matter how small they seem. So the message for me is, be mindful of the agreements and commitments and do what you can do to keep those agreements. And if you can't, get on the phone, renegotiate. I'd like to make another shift here and talk about needs and feelings. Here's something us guys sometimes struggle with a little bit. We don't necessarily like talking about our feelings and talking about our needs. Many of you have heard me speak, remember that I'm frequently asking the question, what do you want? What do you want? It's a need. I ask it because so many of us are guilty at one time or another of not being so clear about what we really want or what we really need. And if we aren't clear about what we want, how are we going to get what we want? Most of us want to live a fulfilled life, happy life, joy-filled life. We want to make a difference in the world. And yet, somehow when we get in that space of, well, I don't know what I want, it doesn't lead to a satisfying life. I did a wedding a little over a year ago, and I was working with the bride and groom and asked them what was important to them in their lives. What was important to them in their relationship. And so I wanted each one of them to share. And before the wife could do her share, the groom spoke up and says, I know exactly what she's going to say. Oh, really? You do? Oh, yeah. I know what she wants. Okay. Well, bride, go ahead. Let's hear what you got to say. What do you want? Well, what she wanted was nothing even close to what the groom thought was going to be important to her. And I thought, interesting. So what's the point? Well, the moral of the story is don't assume that you know what the other person in your life, whatever role they're playing, that you know what they want, whether it's your spouse, a family member, a coworker. Don't assume that you know what that other person wants or needs. You know, if you break the word assume down into parts, it says, some of you know this, and ask out of you and me. Are you allowed to say that in church? I'm not sure. I guess it's too late now. Now here's the real revelation. The best way to figure out what the other person wants or needs, you might want to write this down. Ask them. Ask them what they want. Ask them what they need. And don't assume that you know, because, well, I don't want to say that word again, I'll get in trouble. Just a couple more points. Kindness. Kindness is like a magnet. People like to be around other people who are kind. Have you noticed? When we're kind, we help others feel good about themselves. And you know what? When we help others feel good about themselves, how do we feel about ourselves? We feel good about ourselves. So it's a reciprocal arrangement. When we're kind and generous with somebody, our heart benefits because we get to feeling really kind and generous with ourselves. And when we're feeling that way about ourselves, I believe that it's a strong contribution to our own health and our own well-being. And lastly, think before you speak. That seems obvious. In Burlington, we sometimes say, open mouth, insert foot. Open mouth, insert foot. We've all been guilty of saying or doing something that we wish we wouldn't have said or that we wish we wouldn't have done. Open mouth, insert foot, it happens. And so it behooves us to make more of an effort, to be thoughtful with our words, to be thoughtful with our actions. So I invite you to try doing something for a day or two. Before you speak to someone, try asking yourself a few short questions, maybe one or two. Questions like, what I'm going to say, is it really true? Do I know that to be really true? If I want to say this to this person, is it helpful? Am I going to be critical of this person, or is what I'm going to say really be helpful for them? Is it necessary for me to say this? Maybe it's better left unsaid. And most importantly, I think, is it kind? Is it kind? And if it isn't, why say it? If you focus on just a little bit on what you're going to say to that person before you say it, I think you'll see a change in your conversations. And so as I close, I'm going to ask you a question today. What would your world be like if you saw everyone that you meet as a child of God? What would it be like if everyone you meet, you saw them as a child of God? What if you saw everyone as doing the best they can without your judgment? Because the truth is, we're all doing the best we can. Do you know how I know? Because if we could do better, we do it. We're always doing the best we can. And what if you saw yourself the same way? And so, I see you and me building heartfelt connections with those fellow travelers on this journey called life. And as you and me proceed on this journey, I see ourselves building loving relationships and connections with those that we care about the most. So I'll say it. Happy Valentine's Day again today. And you know what? Happy Valentine's Day every day. It's been a pleasure to be here. God bless you.
My blood pressure feels great all of a sudden. I'd like to ask the ushers to come forward as we prepare for our offering. And please join me in our offering blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Gratitude for me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
And Rev George, can I ask you to bless our offering, please?
Holy Spirit, we are so grateful for this community and we are so grateful for their gifts. We know that these gifts go forward to create a blessing not only for this place, but for all those in this community. So thank you for these gifts and amen.
Amen. Well, I've got some good news for you. I'm all out of jokes. You're welcome. You're welcome. But we do have a lot of cool stuff happening here. There's a lot of, this rocket ship here is taking off. I mean, just look at how full it is. We've got new faces, and I have a lot of announcements. And by the way, the announcements are in your bulletin. Most of the ones I'm going to talk about here are in the bulletin. Reverend Chase is planning a new group, the Next Gen YOU. This is for ages 11 to 35-ish. That's 11 to 35 chronologically, not emotionally or mentally like me. But the first organization meeting is today at 1 o'clock. So if you'd like to get your input as to what this group will be and what they're going to do, 1 o'clock, Reverend Chase here, raise your hand. She's organizing. Thank you. Also after the service today is a planning meeting for everyone involved with the June 10th Celebrating Unity Festival. Christine, you want to say a word or two about what that is?
You probably already heard, and we've got a great group of people that have already started helping planning. We've got vendors signing up, we've got practitioners signing up. We are going to have a really large festival with food trucks. It's all going to be outdoors, most all of it will be outdoors. There will be workshops and different classes and stuff. It'll be in here during the day. Every hour there'll be something. There'll be drumming. There will be sound bowl, sound bath, and we still need some people to help plan because we've got a lot of different areas that we're working on. So nobody has to do too much. It would be nice if I could delegate a few things out to some other people to help. So if you could stay for a little while, then awesome. Thank you.
And she'll be meeting in the large classroom around 12, 20-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuesday is officially spring. and we're celebrating the spring equinox with a special combination of sacred drumming and sound bath. If you've never been to a sacred drumming or a sound bath, it is a treat. It's going to be here Tuesday for the spring equinox, 6 p.m. here. And you will not want to miss next Sunday. Next Sunday, our guest speaker is Greg Tamblyn. Greg is a multi-award-winning humorist and musician, including the prestigious Grace Note Award for Lifetime Achievement in Positive Music. He's been called a contemporary Mark Twain. According to his website, his performances provide elevated endorphins, amplified amusement, and even improved digestion. It's true. So he'll be our guest. He's our guest speaker next Sunday. And after the service, Greg is doing a comedy concert. Tickets are $15 today or $20 at the door. And if you could, I think we have a short video to kind of highlight Greg.
But for those of you who don't play guitar, it's great now because we have these little electronic tuners you can get. And sometimes they're even built in, like this one in my guitar is built in. So I can just press my little button and it starts lighting up. It's got these letters and dots that light up. So I play a string, because I just tuned this string down to a different note for this song. And I hit the string, and first of all, it tells me what note I'm playing. That's pretty cool. It was flat, it blinks yellow. It was red, it blinks sharp. And the faster it blinks, the farther away you are from the right pitch. So you start to tune the string, and as you get close to the right pitch, the blinking slows down. And when you get right on the exact right perfect pitch, it stops blinking and turns green. Isn't that cool? But I always think, wouldn't it be great if they had these for relationships? Not tonight, I think you're blinking.
There you go. So next week, Greg Tamblyn. A friend of ours who's a member here, Douglas Bluefeather, most of you know Douglas, he had back surgery a couple of weeks ago, and we heard from him this week. He was having tremendous pain in his legs and his back, and immediately when he got out of the surgery, the pain was gone. He's recovering well, he's on the mend, he's gonna try to be here next week. If not, within a couple of weeks, he'll be back here with us. So Douglas, we love you. Easter is almost here, and you're invited to purchase lovely Easter lilies or
Hyacinth.
thank you, to beautify her sanctuary on Easter Sunday. You can dedicate your flowers in memory of a loved one or as a tribute to someone special, and their names will be listed in the Easter Sunday bulletin. Order forms are on the table, and it's $15 per flower. And finally, April 1st is the official start date for Reverend Sharon and her husband, Rick. The following Sunday, Easter Sunday, is Reverend Sharon's first message. The Sunday after that, on April 16th, we're having a welcome potluck dinner after the service, so plan on bringing your favorite dish to welcome Sharon and Rick. And to you in internet land, I wish you a great week. You are the light of the world. I see you. Namaste.